prey on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, you're sitting at shop. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
This week on Cold Reality Radio. The farce that is the new Comey investigation. You have to make an illegitimate system look legitimate. Window dressing. The corruption continues. Cesspool of destruction and filth in government, bloodline, assholes, stealing, murdering you. More today. Greg will be my guest. We will talk in depth. Oh, divorce. Is that what it's about now? Oh, Huma's going to divorce Anthony Weiner, the degenerate. Hillary at war with the FBI, right. Attack strategy has risk. Paper. Dems should ask her to step aside. Bring in Uncle Beanie. How you doing? I'll give you free everything. Lynch moved to spike Comey. Yeah, it's all a show. It's all a movie. We're going to talk about that, like I said today. How this is absolute theater. Weiner's tale of self-destruction. Hillary Hell Week, 11-point vanish in Washington Post, Washington's ABC News. Poll tampering. How campaigns allow hacking of Podesta's email account. Heavy rain comes down on Jennifer Lopez and Hillary, washing away their filthy, dirty sins. One a political whore, one a celebrity. FBI emails are not trending on Twitter, Facebook, BuzzFeed. Of course they don't. Total control. Happy Halloweener. That and more today. On Cold Reality Radio. Hundreds of children unable to move their legs or arms, dozens paralyzed in the past few months. Welcome to Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV broadcasting network. Social media blackout. FBI emails are not trending on Twitter, Facebook, BuzzFeed, or Snapchat. Clinton emails, FBI director ignored Attorney General's advice not to take action that could influence election. Yeah, they're all just playing. They're all playing you. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to give you some different perspectives here that could kind of clear up things, maybe give you a different taste of what they could be doing here. And at the worst, you could see her step down, which, believe me, even if she did step down, there's no bringing back what this place has become. Let's see here. Again, FBI found tens of thousands of emails belonging to Huma Abedin on Weiner's laptop. In a leaked memo, James Comey explains why FBI told Congress about reopen Clinton probe. Venezuela throws in the towel on hyperinflation. Will print 200 times higher denominated bills. It's just a prelude to what's going to happen here. Pardon me. Treasury, Bank of England, and IMF Brexit forecasts proved wrong. Of course. Three in Florida, Virginia charged with voter fraud. Unprecedented surge in election fraud incidents from around the country or corporation. United States corporation. John Podesta's sister-in-law lobbied for Raytheon while Hillary was Secretary of State. The modern history of rigged elections over at Blacklisted News. So when they say, "Oh, you're destabilizing our democracy," such bullshit, such utter fucking bullshit. Facebook says users can't stop it from using biometric data. New emails in Clinton case came from devices once used by Anthony Weiner. I'm going back in time on Blacklisted News here. Yes. So it's a cesspool of corruption. And as I said, we're going to talk with Greg today. He called me up yesterday. He said, "What do you think of this? What do you think of this? These new revelations?" And I said, "Well, I haven't really thought about it much because I don't think anything's going to come of it. Because you got criminals in government. You got criminals that own, the same criminals own ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox. This is the same thing. The illusion of choice. Like you heard in the beginning, choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without. That's what this is. That's what this has always been. And it's becoming just more and more apparent now. It's just becoming more and more in your face that this is a system that helps certain people like Hillary Clinton and her just absolute scumbag. They're just the worst. They are the worst. And when I say they're the worst, they're not. They could be the worst of the worst. Who knows even what that means? But we know that you have two Bushes in the White House. You have basically two Clintons, possibly. And then, of course, her as Secretary of State. And this jackass is, George Washington's cousin, Dick Cheney's cousin. Barack Obama and George Bush are cousins. It's all a big scam. It's all a big, family takeover of their corporation, their creation. So it's their creation. They get to do what they want with it. We're not taking anything back, like I said last week. There's no taking back something that never, ever belonged to us. They had to make us believe that it belonged to us and that we were part of it and we were part of this big, idea of America and freedom. It's like, it's really truly like, children believing in Santa Claus. That's what America is. America is Santa Claus. And you have people of all walks of life believing in Santa Claus still. Sad and pathetic. I know. But, we have an absolute, and I really shouldn't even be upset about it, the ranting of it. There's other reasons why we should be upset about what's going on, what's happening. There's many reasons why. One of them is we're going to take our country back. It should not be that because it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. You were born into a fiction and it doesn't belong to you. All you can do is leave it. All you can do is warn others and then leave it. So that is, that's the deal. That's the deal, man. That's the deal. So we're going to bring Greg in a few minutes. And so yeah, I was going to get into something, but then it's probably not a good time to get into that. So let me see here. All right. few jibby jams there in the beginning. Jibby jams. So yeah, if I also have someone calling in today. I don't know if the phones are forwarded. We're going to be live for another hour and a half here on UCY. So feel free to call in. I don't know if the phones are forwarded to my ID. So could be, maybe. But if not, can we maybe get them forwarded over? All right, so let's see what we got here. And we've talked about this at great length of what truly is America. I found out, eventually that it was an absolute farce and not what we've been told that it is. And it's just a movie being played for you. Just a movie being played for you so that you can feel like you're part of something, so that you can feel you can be the battery that Morpheus told Neo that he was. You are the battery. This is you, so you can be turned into this. Your money, your taxes, your participation in the system makes it a reality. Makes it a reality. Your vote makes this illegitimate voting practice, this electing practice in their creation, and it legitimizes this illegitimacy. And what I say about the new Comey thing, and Greg's going to shed a little bit of light on this because he's constantly thinking, critically. It's a skill that you have to acquire, and it's just something that you either have or you don't. You realize that this is bullshit, and then you start thinking in terms. Sometimes it takes a number of years to really kind of lock in. Greg introduced me to Clint's work, and here we are today understanding more about the fiction that we see every day on that television set. Greg, I have you?
Yes, you do.
Okay. All right. So we are going to talk about this, the new revelations, the new Comey investigation of Hillary and the emails and Anthony Weiner, the degenerate, and Aberdeen, the absolute, just a lapdog of basically the whole of Babylon. So Greg calls me yesterday and he says, "What do you think?" And I say, "I don't even know what to think." And of course, as Greg starts to roll off these different scenarios of the possibilities of what we could see between now and Election Day, and further, it just obviously it started, stoking a number of different things in my mind. And I usually think critically like this, but there's just some things don't critically, and so just trying to make him well. So yeah, there's a number of things that are just kind of taking my eye off the ball. And gosh, those Cubs are not going to win the World Series. Isn't that a shame, Greg?
Yeah.
Those Cubs they're just not going to make it.
They just don't have it, right?
They don't have it. That's right. They don't have it.
Yeah, but now Cleveland gets to boast about 2 championship teams now.
That's right.
Talk about, when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, and it's an incredible fiction that they've created here. An incredible fiction. It involves entertainment. It involves war. It involves sex scandals. It involves just every form of degeneracy that you can even imagine. Now, saying that,
and oogles of money.
And money. That's right.
Lots and lots of money.
Of their degenerate currency that we've been deceived into striving for our entire lives to be able to participate in the fiction and, utmost, or ultimately, making us all complicit in their crimes. That's the part of it. And then when you hear things like be in the world but not of the world, then you understand what some of these things written in these ancient scriptures, be in the world but not of the world. Because why? Because the world's is going to transform into a cauldron of shit, and you're either going to be part of it and not realize it, or you're going to realize it and say, God, this is a fucking nightmare. And that's what we have. We have a nightmare of political, politics, many bloodsuckers, government meaning control, govern control, mente in Latin meaning mind, so control the mind or mind control. That's all this is. They control you. You legitimize it by looking at it and saying, yes, we need this. We need government. We need that. Who's going to protect us from the terrorists? Who's going to protect us from the people on TV that the television that proliferates the fear of every aspect. Look at all these shows. What's this ridiculous fucking show with Kiefer Sutherland now, where Congress is blown up by a fucking by a bad guy in a turban, right? So he's the last one left. So he, by default, becomes the president. I want to fucking vomit when I look at this. When I just watched it for a second because I knew exactly what it was. There was an attack, and now Kiefer Sutherland, most likely a member of the bloodline, like his father, Donald Sutherland. I mean, and I'm a fan of some of that. I mean, I've seen Sutherland in some things. He's an interesting guy, right? It doesn't mean that I hate them, but there's a reason why these people are in these positions. There's a reason why Kiefer Sutherland, his son, is on a television show now where he's the president and he has to direct, and he sits there and he's like, I'm sick to my stomach. I'm just going to send these people into war where they can die. It's like absolute fucking propaganda, bullshit, fucking the most horrible thing. And if Kiefer Sutherland was standing here right now, I would say, you are a low-life piece of shit, and God help you, because if there is a hell, you and everybody else like you are going to be in that fucking pit of hell. But we know there's no hell. This is a hell. And it's defined as what? A debtor's prison. And that's what we are. We're debt slaves.
Welcome to the nightmare.
Mm-hmm. So, Greg.
I get into it.
Yeah, let's get into what your speculation and what you think this is all about.
Well, we all know that the rallies that they hold for these candidates, the Clinton rallies have been so poorly attended. I just read this morning they're averaging only 380 people attending Hillary Clinton rallies.
Right.
And Trump is getting just, tens of thousands, turning people away.
Right.
So the energy behind, and that's not Republicans. That's the 94 million people in the U.S. that are underemployed or unemployed. The middle class that's been, put into debtor's prison and knocked down a peg or two, that have seen their, all their hard work and sacrifice. They're the ones who are waking up to the reality that, they've been lied to, right?
The people that have worked, the people that have, work every day to put, unfortunately for them, to put their children through an absolute bullshit education system.
Right.
They
played by the rules. They got in the system and they played by the rules.
Yep.
Their life, and that now they're realizing that they are just cannon fodder.
Right.
Their usefulness, once it's used up, they're tossed aside like an unwanted pet.
Yeah.
And now they're out to fend for themselves and dealing with, they're seeing people around them. The media still talks about how we have, nearly, basically what would be considered to be full employment, 5%.
Right.
Okay. It's hard to keep the game going when people have to, the best jobs they can get are a manager at Applebee's making $37,000 a year.
Yeah, for sure.
On top of that, they juiced the real estate market back up to bubble levels again.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's continually getting worse and worse. And these people are like, they're fed up. And those were the people that were coming out to see Trump. And they, polls opened up in 3 states this week, Florida, Texas, and Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers of people showing up at the polls and voting, the lines have been huge, and it's clearly 10-1, in favor of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So they always have a good idea, and they extrapolate it out. My theory about what happened with this Comey thing is that, if they were to replace Hillary Clinton on the ticket, they have to do it by Tuesday, November 1st.
Right.
And they do have the goods on her. There's no question about it. It's too easy not to have the goods on her. Mm-hmm. They probably know that if they don't come out with something, it's all going to come out WikiLeaks anyway. Because according to Julian Assange, he was going to do the most harmful data dump was going to come after the first, so Hillary couldn't back out of it.
Right.
So they looked at the poll results in the 3 states, saw that there's no way she can win this because what the secret is, the reason why Trump is he's going to have an overwhelming, and it's going to be an overwhelming landslide victory for Trump.
Right.
Is because he's, of the 100 million people that don't vote, okay, people like you and me, we don't vote.
Yeah, it ain't going to happen.
Right? I'm not voting. But those people that have not been part of the process, they're not counted in the rolls. They're not polled.
Right.
Okay, because they're not registered. Guess what? Millions of them, and there are 93 million of them, right? 94 million of these people. Mm-hmm. Tens of millions of them have registered to vote for Trump. Nothing like this has been seen since the Dewey-Truman election in 1948.
Right.
It was the same thing. Everybody said that Dewey was going to win in a landslide, and Truman wound up winning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because.
And they're still surprised, right? That was a big thing. That's why we're still talking about it today, because it obviously is or was some kind of manipulated corruption that was going on back then. Right?
Well, sure. I guess what happened was there are always a lot of people who don't vote. So they managed to. The Trump people didn't focus on the people, not the Trump people, the Truman people back then, focused on the people that weren't voting. That they went. They had their volunteers and people on the ground talking to people who normally don't vote, and said, "You need to register to vote," and that's what brought him. That's what led to his victory in that election.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the same thing is happening now because of social media. Because Trump's not getting any traction in the general media. If you watch that, you see how they hate him. He's getting no push at all, and the press is besides itself on what they're going to do. This could have been just an attempt by Comey to say, we got to get rid of her. She's bad we're not going to win.
That's one scenario.
That's one scenario because, once the rats realize the ship is sinking, they're all going to jump ship. So this could have been just a shot across the bow. Look, she has no chance. So if we do this, it's going to give her a chance to back out. She wants to pursue this beyond Monday, then she goes down and everybody can try and protect their careers.
Right.
It is a business. Regardless of it being it is a business of the aristocracy.
Right.
And so I'm sure that's what's going on. That's just one of my theories about it. The other, the media is saying, well,
so it's a legitimate. You think one scenario is that it is a legitimate. They're not going to win, and they're basically trying to get her to throw her hat in the ring, right?
They're trying to get her to back out so they can replace her.
Okay.
Okay, remember, this has happened before. In fact, in 1992, when Bill Clinton was running for president against George H. Bush, George Bush Sr.
Yeah.
4 days before the election, the FBI said that they were going to investigate Casper Weinberger for for lying to Congress regarding the Iran-Contra affair or something along those.
Casper the Ghost.
I don't know if you remember what Casper Weinberger. He was the defense secretary under Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
And George Bush. Okay. 4 days before the election. So, yeah, this has happened before, and Clinton's benefited from it back in 1992. It's what probably put Bill Clinton over the top. Or like then, the states with the early polling opened. They saw that the race was too close, and let's just, I don't think George Bush cared either way because he controls the Clintons anyway. He's part of they're part of the same crime family.
That's right. Bill Clinton said, obviously he never had a father his real father was a Rockefeller, and he said that George H.W. Bush was the closest thing to a father that he had or could think of. And of course, Barbara Bush, I forget what did George Carlin call her, the iron douchebag or something. I forget what he called her, but she was like, "Oh, I love Bill Clinton. I love him for saying that about my husband." She didn't speak like that. That was actually his.
But I think it's clear. Plus, also too, the Clintons are not getting the black vote the way that Obama did, of course.
Right. And
she was counting on maybe getting 90% of the people that voted for Obama to carry her. But it's the latest poll is that she's well below that number. And they actually quoted the other day that 30% of blacks they polled said they were not going to vote in this election.
How about Cornel West? Any number of times in the last 8 years, he mentioned how Obama basically said he was going to do all these certain things and never did. So Cornel West, being he's a professor, I believe he's Princeton, possibly. And he's got, I've seen him a number of times. I used to watch Bill Maher when I thought that, that George W. Bush, and then I was kind of like, oh, I hate these Democrats are the worst. And then I was like, or the Republicans are the worst, and then I was like, these Democrats are the worst, and now I know that they're both just collectively the worst. And
they're both just as bad. Now our hope is, now that we know pretty sure, what's going to happen, it's time to think in terms of if this guy has to have his feet held to the fire, how much we can count on that being done, we'll see.
Right.
But
right.
They probably have taken they've taken the temperature of the commoners, and we're not ready for this plan they have for us yet. They've waited thousands of years, okay? So if they got to wait another 20 years, then so be it. So it gives us I believe it gives us a little bit of a reprieve, because at least now we don't have to think in terms of, we're gonna wind up in the middle of World War III. Still could happen. Not saying that Trump's going to keep us out of it, because he's part of the family too. Mm-hmm. But he's also a member. He's also a member of the Klan that's been sort of outcast, and he's not a politician per se for his career.
Mm-hmm.
He's a deal maker and a businessman,
mm-hmm.
and definitely a member of their club, but wasn't expected to be treated the way he was. You can generally tell that he was not happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely was not happy about it. But I still think he went to his masters and said, "Don't worry, I'm still one of you guys."
Right.
Which means that what he does with trade deals, they got to back off a little bit, because everything is coming unglued, and they got to keep dollar Inc. going. They got to keep the U.S. dollar hegemony around the world in place.
Right.
And if it starts to fall apart on them, then that's really their power slipping through. So, and I think the rest of the world was just looking at it as, what do you got? Even Putin the other day was making a comment in a press conference over in Russia, saying, the U.S. basically has become a banana republic. And the election of Hillary Clinton would just confirm that, because now it's all about pay for play.
Yeah.
In fact, what was the guy that? The one that was in power after the Soviet Union collapsed. What was his name? The drunk guy. I'm having a mental block. Begins with a B.
White hair.
Yeah.
After the
collapse of the Soviet Union.
And that Ronald Reagan was responsible for, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Ronnie, you saved communism. Let me see here. Russian leader after fall of Soviet Union. Leader of Russia after breakup of Soviet Union. Gorbachev, the guy with the scar, the fucking rash on his head, right? That guy.
No. Gorbachev was doing before.
You mean Boris Yeltsin?
Boris Yeltsin. Boris was put in charge basically to oversee the looting. Of what was the former Soviet Union.
Hold on one second, Greg.
Sure.
Hold on, guys. Hey, going. Yeah.
Well, while Shali takes a phone call.
Yeah, I'll let her know. Hey, the floors are done over there? All right, guys. The world goes on even during a presidential election. Done.
What was that?
All right. Just I was wondering. I thought it was the Pipster. I thought it was Pipper Pasquale Lama.
There you go.
I'm Shali Lama, and my brother is Pasquale Lama. So Yeltsin was brought in to oversee the looting.
Yeah, Yeltsin was brought in to oversee the looting, and I think they figured maybe Hillary would do the same. Mm-hmm. Okay, if they're going to pick the bones, whatever, but they still need a certain amount of people. We volunteer for our own servitude,
right?
Okay, and they need to make sure that we're volunteering. So apparently,
we still have to participate. Yeah, we have to participate in the fiction. Yeah,
we have to participate in it. So obviously, they've learned from this process that we're not quite ready for prime time yet. So put the bird back in the oven. It's not quite done.
Okay. So as a result of her possibly stepping down, what do you think would be there if that's? What do you think there?
I think they did that to get if they put up Bernie Sanders, that would have just re-energized the ticket. It would have gotten interesting. But she's not stepping down.
Okay.
She ain't stepping down. She's too arrogant. There's no way. She thinks that she's a goddess, right?
Well, so she's something.
She's a legend in her own mind. Let's put it that way.
Mm. Yeah, and apparently in some of these voters' minds, because honestly, what makes people sit there and vote and cry and they've really got people buying into this fiction hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it is like you sit there last time and you saw Obama, and when he won the election, the fictional election, and he was like, and everybody was, oh yeah, you know, they're crying and you know, if
oh yeah, you know, listen, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be showing, on election night when they declare Trump the winner that are going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to get my job back. Oh, the factory's going to reopen. Well, you know, guess what?
While Soros's people are burning the cities down.
Right, exactly. I mean, you think the fight you think the fight was bad now. Wait till you see what happens in a few months' time. It's going to get much, much worse.
That's right.
You know, they're going to come out.
Really do think that.
And again, I think he's one of them. Remember, right?
Right. True. Yeah. I mean, I'm not holding I'm not holding my breath for America to change because Obama offered that and he's full of shit. Mm-hmm. You have to, show me what you're going to do, and so she's not going to step down. Say she does. Sanders gets put up there, and then you did talk about that scenario. But I mean, if you don't want to, if it's something that is going to happen, then we just move on to another scenario. Then.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. The other thing that could happen is that Obama postpones the election to give more time for them to put up somebody else. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that happening as well. That's going to, right now, that would create the riots and everything else. So I don't, I think the Trump supporters are angry. They're letting the system know, and the system's going to back down as they do all over the world. If enough people, say enough is enough, then they back off a little bit. They don't care if it takes a few more years. It takes a few more years. Big deal.
A few more years for the collapse of the United States corporation.
Right, or the restructuring of the organization. It just gives them a few more years to screw things up even more.
Right.
Now, if he comes in and actually does some of the things that he's talking about and buys us a little bit more time, well, it's not the first time it's happened. That happened with Ronald Reagan. Everything was ready to blow up then, but they brought Reagan in, and a few technologies were brought out of the drawer. They changed a few policies here and there, brought a entrepreneurial spirit back to the table. People started opening businesses left and right. Of course, that was a different time because of higher interest rates. We had capital formation back then. We don't have capital formation today. So the only way that Trump can succeed in what he's doing is he's got to get the Fed to dramatically raise interest rates, which if they do that, that's going to collapse the bond market, which is going to collapse the economy. So, game, set, match. The only thing that we can say is kind of a benefit is that because he is a deal maker, he will go to creditors around the world, right? Call like an international economic summit emergency meeting that everybody comes to, regardless of who they are, not G7 or G20. It'll just be like everybody's coming. And it'll be like, look, everybody has bought a certain amount of debt. We've created debt as an asset for 100 years. Everybody's going to take a haircut on the debt. Okay? Game is not, we're not playing musical chairs anymore. We're where a few of you fall off at a time, and get upset. We're all going to take a hit, but let's all do it. And we're all going to take a loss, or we're all going to be in business. And guess what? The world that we've known, or the world that we want for our children, our grandchildren, doesn't have to go away. And if he does that, he would be considered a hero on a global basis. Buy some time, and of course, they're never going to quit with their plans on doing what they want to do.
Right.
So that's where I see it's probably where it's going to go. So, and the other thing is that WikiLeaks probably has the emails that they're talking about, and they just want to get ahead of it.
Okay. Because I mean, as I said to you yesterday, because I mean, I don't believe anything that they say anymore. I just don't. And so Comey, like I said, we legitimize an illegitimate voting system by participating in it, and this ultimately is, as you know, as Clint pointed out any number of times, that this is their creation. They are the people. We are not the people. This is what they do. And so what we have here is Comey knowing that if he doesn't address it, it makes the system that is already legitimate, already illegitimate. And the only thing that gets us make it totally look illegitimate. And so then people lose even more. So he has to do something. We know that the State Department, and we got, well, who was that jackass who looked like a sloth with the big nose? The guy who was what Lynch is now. Can't think of his name. Bag of shit. We'll go with that.
Bag of shit.
So he didn't prosecute anybody. There were crimes committed, crimes that if we committed them, we would go to jail for a long, long time, right? So,
absolutely.
Eric Holder, okay. So you've got Lynch now, and she is the new criminal who only goes after, small time people to make the State Department look legitimate. Okay, they're not going after Hillary. They're not going after any of these people. They're not. None of these people are going to face the music. And this Hillary Clinton is really the first one. I mean, and it's just like she's right up front. Here's your criminal. She's running for president. Okay, and she is not being prosecuted. Okay. The laws that would put us in prison and throw away the key do not apply to her. So she gets to do whatever she wants, and the system looks like it is, it's not legitimate. But people still believe that it is because they believe in the fiction that is the United States corporation. They believe in the lies of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and all this other shit. Basically, President's Day is just saying, here is the birthdays of your so-called king, the king of your nation at the time, right? So we legitimize this system by participating in it. And so with Comey now, he has to do this, because if he doesn't, then it's like, haha, you guys are full of shit. So they have to do what they're doing now. I don't think anything's going to come of it, but I do see what you're saying about she's not getting the numbers out there. She's not getting the amount of people that Trump is getting out there. And they have to do something, because it's going to become more and more apparent on these days, on this election day, that it is, and people see the numbers, and of course they're going to look towards the news, which is another illegitimate fucking system, and they're going to believe whatever said. But what the numbers are going to be something else. But Communist Manifesto says we take your government, and we take control of your media so that we can lie to you and you believe in our illegitimate system. So, I mean, if that made any sense.
Yeah, but now things can be a little bit different. They have to get things like back in line. You can get people not through despair. See, this is the problem, I think, with the factions that the factions that are controlling the money in the banking system. Okay,
they're not on the same page.
They're not on the same page.
But they know that they're criminals, and that ultimately, just like a husband or a wife or two people, boyfriend, girlfriend or something that are at each other's throats, right? All it takes is one little situation, and then they forget all of the things that they're arguing about, and they will team up against you. So they know that they have to continue to, even though they're not seeing eye to eye and they think we should do this, we should do that. Ultimately, we are the enemy, because if we find out, we are the biggest issue. Because if we find out, the commoners find out, their days are numbered. Right?
Well, we outnumber them 10 million to 1. So yeah, they've always got to be concerned. They, also too, there's a part of this as well. Some people in the aristocracy want to go back to the old days when there was only two classes, commoners and aristocrats. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But aristocrats, that was a very dangerous time for them. Because if they got the commoners, they knew they were outnumbered, and they would always have to have an escape strategy. The problem is that you can't escape without commoners' help. Especially today. The commoners are the ones who fly your planes, cook your meals, do your landscaping, okay, do all of your grunt work that you need done that you won't do yourself because you can't get your fingernails dirty. Right? And if you just look at like the Project Veritas videos,
mm-hmm.
If you were
that's
people that infiltrated the Democratic groups.
O'Keefe, right?
Mm-hmm. O'Keefe, yeah, they sent people in for a year. They worked undercover for a year because they had to gain their trust to get them to talk about those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just, hey, they were. It was a network of, they set up a whole sting operation. It takes time. Now think about it for a minute. If you were, let's say that your brother, your cousin, your friend, anybody that was taken out by one of these guys, you might think to yourself, well, you know what? I'd like to infiltrate that group and gain their confidence. And then when I get in, I'm going to find a way to fuck them good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right. Mm-hmm.
That's what the aristocracy used to deal with, but they now couldn't even trust their own servants and their own help.
Right, because they knew just like they had moles while they were usurping everything and getting themselves into power, that other people, now that they were in power, there were other people trying to derail them.
Right. And it might be another aristocratic family who got screwed out of their fortune, who have loyal servants who get sent in to do the same. We're familiar with the process. So,
mm-hmm.
These guys are in competition with each other, and they kind of like play by having a middle class, all right? By doing this wealth distribution and an equitable distribution for labor, they actually created a scenario where they were never safer, ever, throughout history. For the first time, probably since the beginning of time, they were able to travel freely with minimal security without worry of being poisoned, or strung up or hung, and they could actually use their name. And they were promoted in the press. So this was, I think, a philosophy that came about after the Civil War, when the corporations and the trusts were trying to, basically what they were trying to do is they were trying to get rid of corporate charters. After the Civil War with the 14th Amendment. A lot of people don't understand that a corporation, we have all these problems with, like pharmaceutical companies and, companies polluting and everything else like that. You could eliminate all of that by reinstituting corporate charters. Corporate charter says that every 10 years a company has to go to a government and a citizen panel where their work is evaluated. And if it's a benefit to the people within the community, benefit to the state, to the country, and they've done no harm, their charter is renewed. As soon as they screw up, if they start poisoning people,
mm-hmm. You can fuck up a lot of shit in 10 years. You know what I mean?
You could. You actually could, but it would
I would hope that it would be. I would hope that it would be. Every 5 years.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it doesn't have to be. It was 10 years back then, but I'm saying that the charter system actually worked, and that's why corporations fought so hard for over 100 years to get rid of it.
I hear you.
And when they were successful and finally got corporations to get personhood status, okay, which was done under guess who? That was done under George Bush.
Georgie the Bush.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So it leads to the problems we have now. What we need to do is basically, if we are going to make it through, all right, if people want to, it's like, listen, I personally believe that most people are very happy with being a slave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easier that way.
It's easier. They don't have the headaches. They don't have the hassle. You know what it is? If they could go to work, raise a family, send their kids to college so they can have a little bit better of a life, give them the opportunity to create their own business, right? So it's not based on a corporate culture. They can give everybody off Sundays again so families can get back together, that kind of thing.
Right.
Take the foot off the gas pedal the way that we've been driven for the last 35, 40 years, particularly the last 35 years. And go back to a simpler, slower pace of life where people can they can be happy. I think most people would be more than pleased to go back into the matrix, so to speak. And because they don't want to come out of the dream state that they're in. That's why it's so difficult for us when our conversations, when we talk about how the world really works, they just can't see it. They don't want to see it.
Nope.
Too painful. Now they get depressed, and nobody wants to go through life being depressed. They want to be happy. And if being happy means that they have a little 1,200 square foot house on a 50 by 75 foot lot and a car, and a couple of toys that they can play with, and they get 2 or 3 weeks vacation a year, and they don't mind working 8 to 5 a day, what's wrong with them?
Right.
They actually feel that it gives their life purpose. And when you put half the population or a third of the population into a position of stress like they've done, don't think you're getting the other third that's going to easily fall into that. Right. The big problem we have going forward, what are we going to do with all the psychos that have been created by this system, all these Hillary supporters? Okay, all these people that are into this identity and divisive, you can never bring them into the fold. How are you going to deal with them? These people are like the cancer cells of body politic. They're not reasonable. They haven't figured it out that they certainly are the last people to figure out that the whole system is nothing but a fraud perpetuated upon them.
Yeah, well, they create this class of people that, and I don't want to say that there aren't Democrats out there, women and men that work hard every day that are voting. I mean, that they are voting for Hillary or they are voting Democrat.
No, they're not. They're doing that for loyalty, but a lot of them, I'm talking about the sycophants.
Right. The people that they've created, that they've had their way paid for through welfare, things like that. People that are so desperate that they will go to, they will go to one of these rallies and then say, "Hey, listen, we'll pay you to, we'll pay you to sit in this crowd, to sit in this audience," because they know that Hillary doesn't have the head count that she needs. So there are those people, absolutely, and they've created them. And you're right. What is going to happen to those people? And like you pointed out in the Bolshevik Revolution, the Russian Revolution, those people were killed by the Bolsheviks after they used those people, right, to attain their power and kill the Tsar and kill all the Christians and everything in there. They did away with those people because they knew that everything that they had gotten those people to fight for, that they weren't going to go through with their promises, right? So
that's right. And those people would be the revolutionaries and so they had to get rid of them. They were the useful idiots, they called them.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a country right now of, millions and millions of useful idiots.
And of course, like you pointed out any number of times with all the refugees from Libya, the refugees from Syria, okay? These are all young men. They're moving all of these young men, potential, revolutionaries. They're moving them out of these areas so that they don't have to fight them, in a sense, and
they can go in and steal the resources without having to worry about revolution starting and people disrupting, like happened in Iran and other countries before. That's why they move people around the way they do.
And then NATO and their, minions, the Zionist minions can turn some of these people into, their proxy armies, which we know the proxy armies were used to take Libya down, create the refugee crisis there, go into Syria and create the absolute chaos and destruction that's going on there. I mean, the United States of America and everybody in this country who's paying taxes is paying for children, women and children to be murdered all over the fucking world.
Mm-hmm.
And those are just the cold hard facts. We are our money. We work every day so that they can go fucking murder people, and that's what's going on. And it's been going on for years, but it can't be. It is more apparent now than ever before that our money and our working every day. Not that what are we going to do? Stop working? But we have to change the system or leave it. Right? We have to change the system or leave it. Like Clint says, Clint says leave it. There's no changing it because it's their creation. So,
sure.
There's any number of different, and I understand Clint's, Clint saying that for sure, because how can we change this? You got these crazies at the top, and you got all these zombies that they created, all these fucking zombies that you say, what do you do with them? And bottom line is that they start killing them, they're going to be killing everybody. So, it's not not just going to be the one that helped them.
What I'll say is that, faith in man doesn't have to be totally discarded now, okay?
Yeah.
There is the possibility that people have the opportunity whose minds feel. What it means is that we actually have the opportunity to become Christ-like. I'm for that. I don't listen. The way I feel, it's like this world is a mess. If we don't change, we are destroying ourselves. I mean, we live in a garbage dump economy. All right, a landfill economy. Everything is based on these built-in redundancies. Things break down, so things are produced and thrown into garbage dumps. And we are turning this world into that movie Idiocracy. Right before our own eyes. Okay? This has to stop. And if we don't start becoming Christ-like and start becoming Christ-like soon, then I say bring on the comet or bring on World War III. Because this is it's a horrible, horrible situation. Before I go to that extent, I still want just like something in me, because I come from a blue-collar family, I still believe that there is good in people. Just give it a chance. It's kind of like they're kind of like children that maybe they haven't grown up yet.
Yeah.
But after this, what we've been through now, and what's going to be coming in the next, probably in the next 3 to 5 years at the latest, when we start seeing systems breaking down and real problems start to create. Remember, this is their system. They can rig the game any way they want, but they still have to play within a certain parameter of rules. Okay? And according to their rules that they have set, that everybody in the world has to play with, they're going to run out of steam as far as being able to bring money from the future to the present. Okay?
Right.
Because they can't, unless they're, I don't think they're never going to get away with going to a cashless society. All right? So they're always going to need some form of money. Otherwise, people are going to get together and create their own. And they know this. So it's sort of like, that's why I think that this was a test. It was a gauge. They put up Hillary Clinton knowing that she was the worst example of a corrupt politician you could possibly put up. I think she was the barbarous vote. Okay? Not that Trump is, Jesus Christ, okay, by any means.
He is not
right?
that.
He is not Jesus Christ, but he is not a criminal in the sense that under the legal terms, he might be for a whole host of other reasons we don't know about yet. But as far as, the example is pretty clear. Who do you want? And they're pushing and egging us on. Why? Because what happened to the Hebrews that condemned Jesus and said, set Barabbas free? All right? The nation of Israel was condemned forever. And it only took 70 years before Jerusalem was sacked and the temple was destroyed and they were scattered, and that created the Babylonian Talmud and all the nonsense we have today. But in reality, what we call Judaism today, that's why they call themselves Jewish. They are not Hebrews because their temple was destroyed. So you have a faction of people that want to rebuild the temple, and then you have these other people that are, that are fully behind. I mean, these are the black hat wearing guys, right? Mm. These are the what are they? I'm forgetting the name.
B'nai B'rith
guys. All right, they want to see the year 6000 prophecy. These are the guys control banking. They're in the finance centers, right? Yeah. And you have the other guys that are like, you know what? We were getting along just fine. We can run a few scams here and there, but we live in nice houses, drive nice cars, have beautiful women. Now we got kids and grandkids. We don't want to see it end. But there's a whole faction of these people that want to bring about this year 6000 prophecy where they destroy life on earth and then the Jews take over and blah, 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 blah. It's wacky stuff.
Wild, wacky stuff.
It's wacky stuff. It's not biblical. All right? Maybe we got a breath where people can say, but they've got to first, they've got to learn what the English language is.
Well, here's an interesting story. Top 5 Clinton donors are Jewish. How anti-Semitic is this fact? And we know that Goldman Sachs has endorsed her and donated a lot of money. I mean, I'm sure they donated a lot of money to Barack Obama, the agent of Wall Street capital, Obama.
Hey, listen, Trump's got plenty of Jewish supporters. I mean, I think that's representative of the two factions of this group. I mean, they are not a totally cohesive group of people. They have arguments and disputes, and this is probably something that's going on. It's just a theory, but it's out there because what we've witnessed was, I think this was a beta test to see where they were going to take us over the next 5 to 10 years. They were going to save this thing, or we're going to blow it all up. Okay, so maybe we bought a few years' time to get our act together. Now, does that mean I think that we're going to get our act together? Maybe the chances are 1 in 100.
Right.
Okay? Because they're going to come at us with every bit of, ridiculous mind-controlled TV programming and everything to get everybody off, Mm-hmm. They'll come out with another 100 misdirection, movies, telling people about conspiracy theories that are all a bunch of BS, create all different kinds of movements. They're experts at and we'll just look back at it and see and go, oh my God, wash, rinse, repeat all over again. But at least we are going to be around for another day to fight, to win, to lose, to cry, to, to have a victory. So it could be a good thing. It's going to make 100 million people feel better after next week. So I'm all for that. Now let's see if we can get them on right.
So you really think that Trump is going to win the election?
Oh yeah. I think it's certainly that's why Comey did what he did. The poll results. Listen, have you seen any of the photos of Clinton rallies? Clinton or McCain rallies?
I know that they are ridiculously undersized. Then they tried to. I mean, you see Trump. Obviously, you see the Trump meetings where he's filling, stadiums or near,
filling arenas.
I mean,
just whole arenas, 20,000 seats and 10,000, 15,000 people outside. He had a something in it. I think it was in.
Well, Trump's a celebrity too now. We a lot of people do this. A lot of people go to arenas to see celebrities. So that could be.
I don't think he's that big of a celebrity to fill an arena. I think he's just there. He's hit on a nerve, particularly now that all of this stuff has come up. It actually was able to free. He started speaking in terms of what people wanted to hear. Now we'll see if there's follow through. Hillary was never popular. She wasn't popular when she was the first lady. Okay, people kind of said, "Well, she's just Bill Clinton's wife," right? We knew there was a scandal every week, if you remember back in the 90s. It seemed like constant scandals. Everywhere she goes, everything she touches, it turns to shit.
She's a witch.
Okay?
A witch.
Yeah, she's not likable. So how is she going to motivate it? People weren't showing up because I think if it was Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders won the primaries.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Of course he did. He won the primaries. So if it was Bernie Sanders, he would be drawing as many people, if not more, than Trump. Okay.
He didn't fight, and then he endorsed her.
He had to. Yeah. You're going to go fight the Clinton machine? Really? They'll size a box for you.
They will.
They will. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
They've gotten away with it before. So, and they wouldn't do it to him. They would do it to somebody he really cares about. So, and hey, you know what? He could have been part of the throw in there to get there. You never know with these people. It's all a show.
Chat room
Politics
update.
Is show business.
Colorectal cancer has a higher approval rating than Hillary.
Yeah, because everybody knew it would be an enema if she became president. She's not popular at all, and I think they were just waiting to see what kind of turnout. But I'll tell you what, in Texas, Ohio, and Florida, Trump got people motivated. They got people people that hadn't voted in years. They got them motivated. They went and registered, and first couple days they were showing it. They're showing it on TV. It's all over the internet. You can YouTube it. Just lines of people at the polls. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a polling booth in Texas, in the Houston area, a polling station that the lines were 4 blocks long, right?
Right.
People were going in and they were voting for Trump, and the machines were all clicking over to Hillary. And it caused a riot.
Yep.
And they had the Board of Electors had to declare an emergency and get rid of all the Diebold machines and convert over to paper ballots.
Yeah,
people were so angry, they were going to burn the place down. They were going to go home and get their shotguns.
Wow.
That was in Texas, and it got very little play, but that's, the people are they vehemently cannot stand Hillary Clinton. I find her to be disgusting, and quite frankly, if she had won, it would have been like, where do we go from here? You're doomed, and that's like, Think about it for a second. She is an unindicted felon.
Yep.
Okay? It's not deniable. She's a felon. So the same government that will lock you up for an unpaid parking ticket, you don't think that they will not prosecute you for aiding and abetting a felon?
No, for sure.
Think about that.
Indirectly, yeah. I mean, we're murderers because we pay into this system that goes and murders children in the Middle East.
But there's also plausible denial because those are decisions not made out. This is a clear choice. This is a free will choice. This is a choice where if you openly support, we are showing you, we are telling you, we are giving you every opportunity. You know this person. She's been in public life for 2 generations now. Okay? Everybody is, maybe if you're just of voting age now, you don't have any memory of what they did in the 90s. Okay, what they did in the 80s and 90s. So they weren't part of your life. Right. But certainly your parents do, your grandparents do. It's all over the place. It's all been documented. You can just look it up. Maybe you want to see any so-called modern day politician or political force that is corrupt. I mean, Clinton's going to be the first name that pops up in the search engine.
Yeah.
Okay? There's no excuse. That's what I'm saying. It's sort of like that's the Kabbalah. That's it's the ultimate free will question. All right? Choose wisely. If you choose wrong, ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the law. You will pay the price. So I know people thought that I was crazy, but I was telling, I thought about this a while back, and I know I discussed it with you and Clint and a lot of other people about it, and they were like, well, but, think about that for a second. Put yourself in, if you think about the way these people think, and they have to make us condemn ourselves before they follow through. Right?
Yeah.
So if we as a country, if we had condemned ourselves by electing her, then they have no problem getting rid of us because we are the useful idiots. And it cannot be overlooked that 2017 is the 100th anniversary of the Russian Revolution. And there are many people that want us to have I think in the minds of some people that they couldn't come out and say it, she represented our Bolshevik revolution.
Right.
So, you know what? Ding dong, the witch is dead. We can kind of step back a little bit and maybe give us a little bit of time to, get our things together. It's not saying that we've solved anything in the world because we know Trump he's one of the family. Okay?
Yep.
But maybe, maybe things will reverse a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah.
But at least they can't condemn us for her.
Right. I'm not voting at all.
And I think the turnout's going to be so strong based on the first 3 states. They're not allowed by law to release the results of the polling in the early states where voting is taking place right now. Because they don't want to throw it off, but you only have to. People have they're flying drones around because they're not allowed to show it on TV. They only show like short shots, where you don't have any. They show lines at some of the polling, but you don't have any concept of the idea.
And I have to read because this, you're saying he's part of the family, and Clint's gone over this before as well. Genealogy experts at Janai.com said that the real estate mogul and former Secretary of State are the direct descendants of the 14th century first Duke of Lancaster, John of Gaunt, or is that Galt, and his wife, Catherine Swynford. Swynford and Galt's mistress was Galt's mistress, but they later married and their children, I gotta scroll up. Their children were legitimized according to the Daily Mail. John of Gaunt, first Duke of Lancaster, married Swynford, Duchess of Lancaster, and John and Catherine are Donald and Hillary's shared 18th great-grandparents reports extra. All right, so this is actually getting kind of out there. That's Hillary Clinton is a descendant of one of their children, John Beaufort. Her brother, John Beaufort, is an ancestor of Trump. And it turns out that their 19th great-grandfather is King Edward III. It always goes back to that guy, according to Dr. A.J. Jacobs, who studied Janai's research. So there is a precedent for ruling a country. It's in their genes, Jacobs told the television program. Two faces of the same family.
There you go. One side or the other.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Clint put a message in there to me on Skype. So, Clint, if you want to join us for the last 25 minutes or so, you're welcome to join us. I just redundanced to myself. If you want to join us, you can.
Well, I think now it's more important than ever for Clint to get his writing complete. You know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so, so it's absolutely, my brother sent me something that Sheryl Crow created, that some kind of petition or something, and we know petitions are just, they love the petitions. Clint was saying they love the petitions because you don't really, it's not like it's not like a protest. It's just you sign your name on something. You sign your fiction on something, and
that's all.
Mm-hmm.
They get to monetize it. That's all.
Right. And so it's and it was something about like that. This is so hurtful. This what's going back and forth between what's televised, what's going back and forth between these two running for queen of the world or king of the world, and so it's just like I don't know. I'm just not even going to sign it because it's just because I don't know what is Sheryl Crow. Is she who is she voting for? She's probably voting for Jill Stein.
Is she not voting for Hillary?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, putting out something like that, saying that we need to reform this is just absolutely ridiculous. Like the amount of time that has, that just, how long has this been going on? I mean, it's been going on for a while, like a year or more now, going back and forth with just the absolute. It's just so. It just makes, it makes us look bad, and I don't even really care about that, but because it is what it is, and it's worse than whatever it looks like. I mean, let's be honest. And so it's just somebody's pointing it out, and that's good. But where's it all going? We condone everything that they decide to do. We get entrapped into this system by their terror attacks and all the things that happened 16 years ago. And
that's
you get trapped into it. And people believe they manufacture the consent. They manufacture that consent, and then people just give it. They just give it. Like, I got a whole lot of consent in my pocket, and I'm just going to give it to you.
Well, that's what happens when you adopt a Bolshevik neocon, philosophy as the underlying principles of of governance, of governing the common people.
Right.
Rather than trying to uplift them and inspire them to do better, not just work harder and produce more, but even produce something that actually has real benefit to them.
Yeah.
Okay, instead, what the neocons do is they try to, everything gets subjugated. First, they entice people in with all good sounding slogans and propaganda and everything else. And then once they've entrenched themselves in, they attach their tentacles and start sucking the life out of the body politic and the people.
Yeah,
and they start,
it's like they govern fear.
Paramount.
They've always governed by fear, whether it be, communism or whatever. And then after the fall of the Soviet Union with what I consider to be a absolute fake Cold War, which was, I think whatever was going on in Russia all those years, the leadership there, and I try to think like, okay, so if the Bolsheviks brought about all of that death and destruction there, were they still in control when, years later? I mean, this was 1917.
They for thousands of years, they controlled the language. English language is a technology. Okay, so Francis Bacon develops English for the King James Bible so that a corporatized religion and law can be promoted down. But it's a code. Mm-hmm. We have to understand what it is we speak.
Yeah.
Our tongue is dog English, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If we spend a little time learning legalese and learning the Bible for under the true meaning of the words, that's why that research has to be done. We can elevate ourselves, at least on a level where there is no difference between commoners, and it would eliminate the classes per se.
Mm-hmm.
They never eliminated the classes. People think that, we're Americans, everybody is equal. It's about freedom, blah, 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 blah. No, you idiot. You don't even understand the meanings of the words you speak.
Well, they say that we're equal, and then they do everything in their power to divide us. It's just...
They have us basically...
Yeah.
Because under their legal system, just by the use of our surname, which is government property, they have us in a franchisee-franchisor relationship. Okay? And because we're claiming property that doesn't belong to us, we, under their code, because they understand legalism, they understand the codes, we don't, so we self-incriminate ourselves. And then they tell us, hey, ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the law. Well, no shit, Sherlock. And the best way you're going to protect yourself from it is to first understand the fucking law and the language you speak.
Mm.
And pardon my French.
Yeah. You've got the dirtiest mouth ever.
You know what? Sometimes, when you talk to people, this is why I have so much respect for Clint, because when he was on RBN and he's talking about this, I found it like, oh my God, here's somebody who gets it.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. It's the words you're using. It's the language, the words, you don't know what they mean, and they're using it as jujitsu against you. And if you just even understood the spell that is your name, okay, would you call yourself and how you identify yourself when you say, you are Bill Smith, all right? You are adjoining yourself to a government contract where you are the property. The word name is a designation given by the owner, given to property by the owner thereof. That's what the word name means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when you acknowledge this system, you're doing it not in your Christian name, you're doing it in your surname, which is owned by Rome. This is stuff that goes back to Chinese legalism. And Clint did a great show with, I don't know if it was, what's his name from Canada? I'm having a lot of black now. Okay, or somebody had where they were talking about Chinese legalism. That it actually got started there, thousands of years ago, and it was picked up and probably adopted by the Roman Empire.
Right.
Okay. And so everything is about hiding the truth in plain sight. They tell us all this. And it's funny when you learn it, you see they tell you in the movies. They tell you on the TV shows. They'll tell you in the news. They'll tell you because I think they laugh about it. They want to see how many people get it and how many people don't. You know? And so I always look at everything in that frame. They try to frame everything to try and catch us all right, they want to know who's smart. They want to know who's dumb. I think they kind of admire people like us that get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
Because remember, it is not their job to make us smart. It is their job, however, to keep us stupid.
Yep.
And they know that if anybody figures it out, they're a class above the regular commoners. You know?
I mean, I think they just get, at the very top, they are they have created this. And so then you have the people that they know that they have to create different areas of society. So what do? They start with the government, and then they break it down into the states, and then the counties and the townships. They create their municipalities. They create their police, the people that police the. Okay, Greg, can you just kind of move forward over the next maybe 5 minutes? Just kind of.
Sure.
I got to do something, so just talk to the people.
Okay.
All right.
5 minutes.
Yeah, we got about 15 minutes, but just go ahead and just give me a few minutes to get something straightened out here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Emergency.
Okay. Yep.
So people, they need to learn. They need to read. They need to, listen to people like Clint. They need to stop. First off, they got to get themselves out of the mindset that everything is a conspiracy theory. In reality, it's not. That was my personal opinion is they created the Radical 60s movement as another social experiment, as they're doing with us right now. And we have to find ways we're on the right track. We're starting to become smarter. Okay, only because the means of communications have improved. Maybe we have a little bit more time where we can turn this into something even greater. Maybe another 5-10 years, who knows? Maybe they blow up the economy next year. It's possible. And all this is for naught anyway. But it's a fascinating time to be alive, to see it all through. And I, for one, personally feel like never give up the fight. Not that you want to protect this system, because believe me, it's horrible. But, anything worth living is worth dying for. So, and if anybody has got a family, children, anybody who's in love, anybody who wants to think in terms of the future, by all means, I'd say, let's see if we can come together and do it. Otherwise, bring on the big rock and destroy this place and get it over with. End the suffering. Well, it's been a long time since I've had my own show where I've had to talk, so I kind of don't know what to say at this point. So we should have had Clint call in. I wish he had. All right, I'm going to see if I can get over here onto the UCY chat room. Maybe somebody can, because I'm not on it because it always interferes with my signal. La-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Hey, hurry back there, Shali. I know you can probably hear me in the speaker in the background.
Hey, sorry about that, dude.
Oh, good, you're back.
Yeah.
I was running out. I was like, let me go to the chat room. It's been a long time since I've had my own show. I didn't prepare.
Right. So So it's going to be really interesting what we see in the. Right. It's going to be very interesting what we see, and thanks for pointing it out and providing your.
Oh, I was just saying, if listen, if you're in love, if you've got kids, if you have a life, fight. Yeah. I'm not for giving up on it. And life is beautiful. Go for it. Yeah. But if we keep falling and going down this road we're going, then bring on the rock, bring on the war, just because this isn't worth saving, in my opinion. Yeah.
I mean,
and I tell you, I was really thought if Hillary Clinton gets elected president of the United States, you know what? There ain't nothing to fight for in this case. Yeah. It's like, just give it up, because this is what you really want to save this, right?
Well, she would be, she that's all she wants. That's all she wants. And then of course she's.
It's not even her; it's the people that she represents. It would represent the total. I think it would just represent the total end of the human spirit, or the spirit of man would be gone. We would just descend into the abyss of into the nightmare abyss. We would become Zombieland, basically. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think
she's a criminal, and she. Not only does she get, basically pardoned, but then she also can still run and then possibly ultimately become the president. It really just shows that we're an absolute joke.
We're a joke as a species if we allow that to happen. You know what I mean?
We're even more so. Because what we've allowed them to do, what we've allowed a lot of these so-called, leaders and flattering title jackasses to do over time, it's just an absolute mess.
Well, maybe we bought ourselves a little bit of time. Maybe people can kind of wake up, Hopefully. Sherry, I'm always hopeful, because I want to see where life goes. I think the life is an adventure. It's a beautiful thing. We have to experience beautiful things in our lives if we can try. It's too easy to get depressed about it. And gosh, could you imagine the overwhelming depression? I'm not even talking about. Look, the politics doesn't mean anything. We may not solve anything other than at least we have the satisfaction of saying we turned away the wicked witch of the West.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now we'll see what happens. But maybe we bought ourselves a little bit of time maybe we bought ourselves a little bit more time or a little bit longer of a right to live. Right?
Right.
Yeah, there's a little hope for us if we bought it, you got a few more years to get your act together. If we still keep going down this path and people start clamoring for more, than let's just get it over with.
Right.
You walk into a Walmart store, and I tell you that nothing makes you lose hope faster than walking into a Walmart store. You know that.
Oh my God, dude! It's
crap like, you see there.
It's The Walking Dead. It really is The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Just what they have allowed themselves to become. Just in so many different obvious ways. You just look at people and you're just like, what the fuck have you done to yourself? I want to be mindful of that. I want to be mindful of myself, and just to be, just because you know what I mean. And it's not because I want to be better. It's just because I don't want to be that. I don't want to see anybody become what Walmart is.
We need to reject the Walmarts. We need to get back to the point where people are making I hate to say an honest day's wage. It's not about money per se and the pursuit of money. It's about the pursuit of being able to, experience the joys of being alive, right? We have this system. It's the only system that's kind of worked for mankind. We can live within the rules of nature. I get that. But it ain't going to happen when we go back to nature in any time quickly. Now maybe, destroying everything, the recreation will do that. But we don't know for sure because none of us are going to be around for it.
Well, I'll give you this. We talk about being Christ-like, and you've mentioned the one way, or possibly the only way, to try to short-circuit the system is to just not participate in it for like 30 or 40 days. Don't go to work. Don't go to work. Turn off your electricity. Turn off your cell phones. Don't pay your bills. And
don't be dependent upon the system. Exactly. Unplug yourself from the system. Your reliance upon it and its reliance upon you, and you'll see how fast these people will come back and offer you to, just like they tempted Christ, they will tempt you. Oh, we'll give you anything you want.
Yeah. And how many people that are listening to this today, or would hear this message, would actually even think about doing that?
No, they're in fear of it because they're afraid. Because listen, you could lose your house, you could lose your job, you could lose your family. The risks, the rewards do not outweigh the risk when you're doing it as an individual.
Right.
So they're not Christ-like. But remember the prophecy is that Jesus is going to return in the cloud, right?
In the cloud? You mean the cyber cloud?
Why not?
Okay, there you go.
Who's to say that?
Yeah.
That's not it.
It sounded kind of crazy at first, but now
Now it kind of like, we basically through the cloud, what we're doing here, what millions of, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people around the world have the ability to do, we can spread it. But hey, all you have to do is just turn off. Don't just for a little while. Go on a fast and see how quickly things change. Days, not even weeks, days. Things will change that quickly. So now you know why it's all conquer and divide. Mm-hmm. The more they can keep us off balance, fighting with each other, blaming the other guy, we're all commoners.
That's right.
They don't look upon us as they look at us. They put the idea, the concept of race and class and everything else in our heads because we're stupid. We don't even get it that, look, Obama is one of the Dunham clan.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the first black president. No, he's not a black president. I'm sorry. Because you speak dog English, you don't even know the difference. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
His bloodline, it's Game of Thrones. His bloodline is the bloodline. His bloodline is considered white, regardless of the pigment of his skin. That's meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
So they just want to. They've got us totally, completely off balance, completely living in fear. It never stops. So, maybe we've got a little bit more time. Who knows? I don't know. But as for me, for right now, I'm pretty darn happy that we're not dealing with the Wicked Witch anymore. Or we only have another week to put up with this crap. We're going to have to hear all kinds of things about
I hope you're right.
Week,
not because I think that Trump is the answer by any means. It's definitely
I'm not saying he is. I am not saying that he is. I'm not.
So that is the truth. I would feel better about that. They are going to close schools on Election Day because of the threat of violence. So,
all those sycophants that follow the Hillary clan,
mm-hmm.
okay, that follow the Clintons, they're violent. Okay, they are violent, and Trump, the thing is that these Trump supporters, what I see, these are just blue-collar people that, they grew up in a time, or their parents grew up in a time where a blue-collar worker could raise a family, and they had, they didn't have a lot. They didn't have everything they wanted, but they had everything they needed.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't struggling. There was always struggle with money. It's always been that way to a certain degree, because under our system we have inflation, so no matter what. But they didn't see, friends, relatives, people being totally thrown into debt like they are today. It's crazy.
Losing
they want to go back.
If they get sick, losing everything they have if they get sick.
Right.
That's another. That's another abomination.
Mm-hmm.
I will MK Ultra ya. Put the MK scope on ya. If the MK hits you, it's guaranteed to open ya. The 57mm Mark 110, 220 rounds a minute, try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list, that's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform shock and awe on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary. For the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They